My disabled best friend asked me to do something disturbing for her and I'm torn. I've never dealt with such a dark, heartbreaking situation before, and even though I have experienced a lot of pain in this life, this type of hurt is brand new to me. I feel I've been given an impossible choice and I still have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm 23 years old. When I was 22, I was in an awful car accident that caused me to lose both of my legs at the knee. When I woke up in the hospital, I was in denial for months. It was like my brain just could not fathom what had happened to me. I would look down at my body and it felt like someone else's denial, and that type of situation feels insane. I would literally touch my stumps and wonder how long it would take until my legs grew back. After I left the hospital, I was sent to a physical rehab center and I spent almost 6 months there. I was not ready to go back home and I felt like my normal life was basically over at that point. At the center, I would watch TV all day and do schoolwork. The rest of the day I was receiving treatment. My life was depressing and monotonous until Christine arrived at the center one day. I remember giggling a little when I first saw her since she basically had opposite injuries to me. I introduced myself to her on her first day there and we ended up becoming fast friends since we were the two youngest people at the center. Christine was 22 years younger than me and she had been electrocuted at her family's farm and it caused her to lose both her arms at the elbow. It was hard to see such a young, innocent person with such a life-changing injury. When I looked at Christine, I wondered if that was how other people felt when they looked at me. Anyway, we spent every day together at the center. She was much more reserved and shy than me, and I tried my best to cheer her up. However, I couldn't bring her out of her shell. We ended up requesting a double room and we had a lot of nights that felt like childhood sleepovers. There would be nights when one of us would wake up crying, relieving our accident, and we would comfort the other until we fell back asleep. Her friendship is so precious to me, and I think I would have been in the center for months longer if I hadn't been for Christine's support. We encouraged each other to heal our bodies the best we could and leave the center together to try and regain some normalcy. We lived about an hour away from each other, but even after the center we kept in touch and I knew I had found a lifelong friend in Christine. My family is very patient and supportive. I also have a few siblings who have been really helpful and accommodating since I returned to him. I won't lie and say it's been an easy adjustment and I have cried every week as I try to get used to living life in my wheelchair. But speaking to Christine gave me some perspective. The only other person she lived with on the farm was her 60-year-old mom. Christine had confided in me during our stay at the center that the older her mom got, the fewer chores she could complete on the farm. She said her dad had died a couple of years back and since then Christine started doing a lot of odd jobs on the farm to try and help her mom out the best she could. That's the circumstances that led to her accident. Christine was working on an electricity box that she had no experience with and that's how she was shocked. Therefore, things were extremely difficult when Christine returned home since she was still trying to be self-sufficient, but she needed her mom for so much now. Christine told me she was trying to teach herself to use her feet to do things like type and cook, but most days she would just screw up and make a mess. After we had both been home for about 6 months, I was finally adjusting. Meanwhile, Christine was crying to me on the phone almost every night about how difficult she was finding her new life. My heart broke for my friend and I felt powerless. I did the only thing I could think of and I asked my parents to take me to visit Christine. They agreed and we made the long drive over to Christine's family farm. As soon as we pulled in, I saw it was a beautiful and lush property and my eyes welled up as I thought about all the work Christine must have been doing on it before her accident. My heart damn near exploded when I saw Christine run out of her house to greet me in the car. We shared a laugh when I hugged her and she apologized for not being the best hugger. We all went inside and I met Christine's mom, who turned out to be a lovely woman, but she moved slowly and had lots of wrinkles. My parents agreed to stay for dinner, and afterward, I slept over at Christine's house and my parents headed home. They were nervous about leaving me, but I promised I would be safe. Everything had been going great until that night. Christine and I stayed up late just talking about how we had been feeling since leaving the center. I had been talking about my struggles for a while. Christine had been quiet, and I finally asked her how she had been feeling lately. I could burst out in tears when I remember this conversation and I'm still feeling torn and confused. Christine confessed to me that she was violently depressed. She said she wasn't adjusting to her new disability well at all, and that she felt like an awful burden on her mom. She cried as she explained that now that her mom was older, it was her job to take care of her. But now things were reversed and she felt like a needy, helpless child. I tried to comfort her. I told her she was still so valuable and loved and that her accident wasn't her fault, but my words were not able to reach her, and that's when Christine dropped the bomb on me that she didn't want her new life and she confessed that she had been thinking about ending it herself. I cried as soon as the words left her mouth. I told her she was wrong, that she wasn't a burden and I needed her. She just said that no one needed her, not anymore, not like this, and that there was no changing her mind. She explained to me that she would be taking pills in a couple of days, but she wanted me to be there with her. She said she was ready but scared and she didn't want to die alone. She asked me to stay a couple extra days at the farm and stay with her as she passed. I had never heard something so painful and heartbreaking in my life. I spent the rest of the night begging her to change her mind, but it was no use. We just cried and held each other until we started to fall asleep to the sound of the birds chirping outside. Now it's the next morning and I know I have to make a decision. Doc. Christine made it clear that she would be doing this with or without me, that there would be no time to involve any authorities and that you wouldn't let anyone stop her. I love her with all my heart and I thought she loved me too, so why would you want to leave me this way? How am I supposed to let her?